The text arrived at 6:37 p.m. on a Wednesday. I was stirring pasta sauce in our kitchen while Lily, my 6-year-old daughter, colored at the dining table. The familiar ping made me reach for my phone without thinking. I expected it to be another work email, or maybe my sister asking about weekend plans. Instead, it was Claire. Going to Miami with Jason for a week. Don't be jealous. I need a break. Take care of Lily. Jason, her college boyfriend, the one who supposedly meant nothing anymore. The one she'd promised was just a friend when I questioned their late-night text 3 months ago. The wooden spoon in my hand stopped mid-stir. Something cold and heavy settled in my chest, but my face remained perfectly calm. Years of high-stakes business negotiations had taught me to mask emotions instantly. I glanced at Lily, her small face scrunched in concentration as she carefully stayed within the lines of her coloring book. "Daddy, is dinner ready? I'm hungry," she called, not looking up. "5 more minutes, sweetheart," I answered, my voice eerily steady. I set my phone screen down on the counter and returned to stirring the sauce. Mechanical movements, left to right, around the edges. Don't let it stick. My mind, however, was racing at warp speed. Claire had left this morning with an overnight bag, kissing me briefly on the cheek, telling me she was going to visit her sister in Houston. A business emergency, she'd claimed. Her sister Sandra needed emotional support after a workplace crisis. I'd believed her, like I always did. 10 years of marriage, a beautiful daughter, our Tudor-style house in Austin's most desirable suburb, the dinner parties, the shared bank accounts, the retirement plans, the trust. All of it, a carefully constructed house of cards. And Claire had just knocked it down with 17 carelessly typed words. I served Lily her dinner and sat across from her, asking about her day at school, nodding and smiling at all the right moments, while internally I assembled a plan. Not out of impulse or rage, but with the same methodical precision I used when dismantling hostile takeover attempts in my consulting work. When I tucked Lily into bed that night, she wrapped her small arms around my neck and whispered, "I love you, Daddy. You're the best daddy in the whole world." Her innocent words nearly broke my composure. For a moment, I couldn't speak past the knot in my throat. I held her a little tighter, inhaling the sweet scent of her strawberry shampoo, memorizing the feel of her tiny body in my arms. This was what Claire had risked. This was what she'd devalued. "I love you too, Lily Pad," I finally managed, "more than anything in the world." After she fell asleep, I stood in the doorway watching her, the soft glow of her nightlight casting shadows on her peaceful face. In that moment, my hurt crystallized into something harder, colder, more dangerous. I returned to our bedroom and finally allowed myself to reply to Claire's message. "Understood. We'll be fine. Enjoy yourself." Then I made a phone call. Robert Kane answered on the third ring. We'd been friends since college, roommates for 3 years before life took us in different directions. He'd become one of Austin's most formidable divorce attorneys while I built my consulting firm. We still met monthly for drinks, though our conversations had grown increasingly superficial over the years. Tonight, that was about to change. "Mark, everything okay? It's almost midnight." Robert's voice was instantly alert despite the hour. "I need to meet, now. It's important." A brief pause. "My office in 30 minutes. As I drove through Austin's quiet streets, memories of Claire assaulted me like physical blows. Our first date at that Italian restaurant downtown, where she'd laughed so hard at my jokes that wine came out of her nose. The nervous way she'd twisted her hands when I proposed at the Botanical Gardens. The look of exhausted triumph on her face when she held Lily for the first time. Had it all been a lie? Or had she simply stopped caring somewhere along the way? The pain threatened to overwhelm me, so I channeled it into determination instead. Each memory became another brick in the wall I was building around my heart. By the time I reached Robert's office building, I was composed, focused, and absolutely certain of my course. Robert's office occupied the top floor of a downtown building with views of the state capitol. When I arrived, he was waiting in the lobby, keycard in hand. He wore jeans and a rumpled University of Texas t-shirt, his salt and pepper hair uncombed. I hadn't seen him look this casual in years. "You look like hell," he commented as we rode the elevator up. I realized I hadn't even looked in a mirror before leaving the house. "Claire's having an affair. She texted me tonight that she's in Miami with her ex-boyfriend." Robert's professional mask slipped for just a moment, revealing genuine surprise before he regained control. She texted you that. Those exact words. I handed him my phone. He read the message, then looked up at me with the predatory smile that had earned him the nickname, the Shark, in legal circles. She actually put it in writing. Unbelievable. He handed the phone back. And you're sure? This isn't some misunderstanding. She lied about where she was going. She's with an ex she swore meant nothing. And she told me not to be jealous, Robert. Like I'm some kind of fool she can pat on the head. The elevator doors opened, and we walked silently down the hallway to his corner office. Floor-to-ceiling windows displayed Austin's glittering skyline, but I barely noticed. Robert gestured to a leather chair while he took his seat behind an imposing mahogany desk. What do you want, Mark? Reconciliation, divorce, something in between. I met his gaze steadily. I want everything, full custody of Lily, the house, protection of my assets, and I want Claire to understand exactly what she threw away. Robert leaned back in his chair, studying me. That's a tall order, even with this text message. Texas is a no-fault state, unless we can prove her behavior is detrimental to your daughter. Then we get proof, I interrupted, and we move fast. Claire thinks I'm the predictable, reliable husband who'll be waiting when she gets back from her little adventure. She's never seen me in a boardroom when millions are on the line. She has no idea what I'm capable of. For the next 2 hours, we outlined a strategy. Robert made calls to colleagues despite the late hour. By the time I left his office, the first pieces were already in motion. As I drove home through the empty streets, a sudden wave of grief washed over me. I pulled over, unable to see through the tears that came without warning. For 10 minutes, I sat there, hands gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles went white, letting the pain flow through me. This would be my only moment of weakness. From now on, I would be nothing but strategic. When I finally pulled into our driveway, my driveway now, it was nearly 3 a.m. I paused in the entryway, looking at the family photos lining the wall. Claire and I on our honeymoon in Greece. The three of us at Lily's 4th birthday party. Claire's graduation from her master's program. Lily and I beaming beside her. I took down each photo, carefully removing Claire's image from the frames, leaving only Lily and me. It was petty perhaps, but necessary. The visual reminder of what we had been would only weaken my resolve. The woman I had loved no longer existed, if she ever had. Thursday morning, I called in sick to work for the first time in 3 years. After dropping Lily at school, I visited 3 banks before noon. At First National, the private banker who'd handled our accounts for years looked uncomfortable when I asked to freeze our joint accounts. Mr. Sullivan, may I ask why you're making these changes? Patricia Mitchell had helped us set up Lily's college fund, had sent flowers when Claire's father died. I slid my phone across her desk, the damning text message displayed. My wife is in Miami with her ex-boyfriend. I need to protect my finances before she empties our accounts for their vacation. Patricia's expression shifted from discomfort to something closer to indignation on my behalf. She'd known us as the perfect couple. The illusion was shattered for her too. I understand, she said quietly, typing rapidly on her keyboard. We'll need to set up new accounts in your name only. I can expedite the process. Her fingers paused over the keyboard. Mr. Sullivan, Mark, I'm so sorry. You both seem so happy. I finished for her. That's the thing about appearances, Patricia. They're easy to maintain when only one person knows they're false. By 2 p.m., I transferred half of our joint savings, a completely legal move, as Robert had assured me, into a new account only I could access. I'd frozen our joint credit cards and arranged for new ones to be issued only to me. I'd begun the process of removing Claire as a beneficiary on my life insurance and retirement accounts. Each signature felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. Each form was another brick in the wall I was building between my old life and whatever came next. At one point, my phone buzzed with a text from Claire. Having dinner at that seafood place you always wanted to try? Wish you were here. Give Lily a kiss from me. The casual cruelty of it staggered me. She was flaunting her betrayal while pretending to include me, as if I should be happy for her enjoyment with another man. I showed the message to the bank manager, who shook his head in disbelief before processing my request to cancel Claire's credit card with even greater urgency. At 3 p.m., I met with Ethan Cross, a private investigator Robert had recommended. We sat in his cramped office above a convenience store, surrounded by filing cabinets and outdated computer equipment. Miami's not exactly a challenge, Ethan said after I explained what I needed. He was a former police detective with wiry gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. You have the hotel name. The Four Seasons. Claire had texted her sister the hotel information, believing Sandra was covering for her. What she didn't know was that Sandra had called me last night, confused about why Claire had claimed to be visiting her. Sandra had never approved of how Claire sometimes took advantage of my work ethic and patience. Expensive taste, Ethan commented. I've got connections at most of the luxury hotels. We'll have photos within 24 hours, full documentation of their activities, evidence that will stand up in court. I need everything, I told him. Times, places, what they're doing, especially anything that shows she's neglecting her responsibilities as a mother to be with this man. Ethan nodded, making notes. What about the boyfriend? What do we know about him? Jason Mercer works for Hayes Medical Group as their CFO, married to Victoria Hayes, the CEO and majority owner. They live in Dallas. Ethan whistled. Victoria Hayes, the medical device heiress. This just got a lot more interesting. Find out everything you can about him too, their history together, how long this has been going on. Ethan set down his pen and studied me carefully. You know, most guys who come in here are falling apart. They want evidence to confirm their suspicions. Then they go home and cry or get drunk or beg their wives to come back. You're different. How so? You already know what you want. You're not gathering evidence to make a decision. You're gathering ammunition. I neither confirmed nor denied his observation. Just get me what I need, Mr. Cross. I left Ethan's office with a strange sense of calm. The initial shock had given way to purpose. For years, I'd channeled my ambition and strategic thinking into building my business and supporting Claire's various career experiments and passion projects. Now, all that energy was focused on a single goal, making sure she lost everything that mattered to her, just as she'd thrown away everything that mattered to me. That evening, when I picked up Lily from school, she asked the question I'd been dreading. When is Mommy coming home? I knelt to her level in the school parking lot, meeting her innocent gaze. Mommy is on a trip right now. She'll be gone for a little while, but she always calls me before bedtime when she's away. The painful truth was that Claire hadn't called once to speak to Lily since leaving, not a single inquiry about her daughter's well-being. I'm sure she'll call soon, I lied, hating myself for it, but wanting to shield Lily from her mother's selfishness. How about we get ice cream on the way home? Her face brightened instantly, the concern forgotten with childish ease. If only adult pain could be so easily erased. That night after Lily was asleep, I sat alone in the kitchen with a glass of bourbon, the house unnervingly quiet around me. Claire's presence had always filled our home with noise. Music playing, friends visiting, constant movement. Now there was only silence and the weight of her absence. My phone rang. Claire's mother. I hesitated before answering. Mark, is everything all right? I've been trying to reach Claire, but she's not answering. Ellen Reynolds had always been kind to me, treating me like the son she never had. I couldn't bring myself to hurt her with the truth. Claire's taking some time away, I said carefully. She's fine, just unavailable right now. Away. But she just called yesterday saying she was helping Sandra with some crisis. Now Sandra says she hasn't seen Claire in weeks. Mark, what's going on? The lie was already unraveling. Claire had evidently been careless with her cover story, not bothering to ensure Sandra would corroborate it. Ellen, I think you should talk to Claire directly when she gets back. It's not my place to... Is she with that Jason person again? Ellen's voice had gone cold. Thomas and I warned her after college that he was trouble. Is that where she is? The revelation hit me like a physical blow. Again, this has happened before. A heavy silence fell between us. When Ellen spoke again, her voice was heavy with regret. Oh, Mark, I thought you knew. Before you were married, there was an incident. Thomas and I thought it was over, that she'd chosen you. She promised us. I need to go, Ellen, I said, my voice strangely calm despite the fresh betrayal. I'll have Claire call you when I hear from her. I hung up before she could respond, my mind reeling. This wasn't a momentary weakness or a midlife crisis. This was a pattern, a history I'd never been told about. I poured another bourbon, larger this time. The pieces were falling into place now. Claire's occasional defensive reactions when Jason's name came up, her insistence that they were just friends despite the intensity of her denials. The foundation of our marriage had been built on a lie of omission. In that moment, any lingering doubt about my course of action vanished. I wasn't being ruthless or vindictive. I was finally seeing Claire clearly for who she truly was and acting accordingly. By Friday morning, Ethan had delivered. My phone buzzed with incoming messages while I made Lily's breakfast. "Want to see Mickey Mouse pancakes, Daddy?" Lily asked, peering up at me with Claire's hazel eyes. "Absolutely," I smiled, tucking my phone away. The images could wait. My daughter couldn't. After dropping Lily at school, I pulled into a parking lot and finally looked at what Ethan had sent. My hands trembled slightly as I scrolled through the photos. Claire and Jason lounging by the hotel pool, her hand on his thigh. Claire and Jason at dinner, leaning close across a candlelit table. Claire and Jason entering the hotel lobby, his arm around her waist, her laughing up at him with an expression I hadn't seen directed at me in years. The timestamp on the dinner photo was 8:30 p.m., exactly when she'd normally be helping Lily with her bedtime routine. The mother who insisted on being present for every bedtime story was sipping champagne with her lover instead. Then came the real blow, a video clip taken in the hotel bar. Claire, slightly drunk, one arm draped around Jason's neck, the other holding a martini glass. "To freedom," she laughed, clinking her glass against his, "and to husbands who don't ask questions." Jason pulled her closer. "You know, you could just leave him. We could be together for real this time." Claire's expression sobered slightly. "It's complicated. There's Lily and the house and finances. Mark controls everything. Besides, he's safe, dependable. He'll always be there. And I won't." Jason pretended to be wounded. Claire kissed him deeply. "Your excitement, adventure, my escape, different things." The video ended, but the damage was done. I sat in my car, physically unable to move, as her words replayed in my mind. Safe, dependable, he'll always be there. She saw me as a security system, not a husband. A reliable provider she could betray without consequence, because I would always be there. I forwarded the photos and video to Robert, then called him. "I've seen them," he said before I could speak. "They're perfect. The judge I'm thinking of for your case is particularly sensitive about parental responsibilities. Claire choosing a romantic dinner over being available for her daughter's bedtime won't play well. What's our next move?" "I've already filed for emergency temporary custody. The hearing is Monday morning. Judge Harriet Wilson. She's fair but traditional. These photos, combined with Claire essentially abandoning her child to be with a lover, should give us what we need." "She didn't abandon Lily," I said automatically. "I'm here." "Legally speaking, she left her child to pursue an extramarital affair without making proper arrangements for care. She assumed you'd cover her responsibilities while she betrayed you. That's the angle we're using." After hanging up, I sat in my car for several long minutes, staring at the families in the park. Parents pushing children on swings. A young couple walking hand in hand. Normal people living normal lives, unaware that their foundations could crumble with a single text message. I had one more card to play. The most dangerous one. The Hayes Medical Group headquarters dominated a corner of downtown Dallas, its glass and steel structure reflecting the midday sun. I'd made the 3-hour drive from Austin immediately after arranging for my parents to pick up Lily from school and stay with her for the weekend. As far as they knew, I had an emergency business trip. I hadn't told them about Claire yet. That conversation could wait. I'd called ahead, using my consulting firm's reputation to secure a meeting with Victoria Hayes herself. Her assistant had been dubious at first. Victoria's calendar was booked months in advance. But I'd hinted at potential regulatory issues that could affect her company's upcoming product launch. The meeting was scheduled for 2 p.m. During the drive, Claire called 3 times. I let each call go to voicemail, listening to the messages at a rest stop halfway to Dallas. "Mark, my credit card was declined at dinner last night. Can you check what's happening?" "Mark, I just tried to pay for a spa treatment and all our cards are showing as invalid. Call me back." "Mark, what the hell is going on? I can't access our bank accounts online. If this is your idea of a joke, it's not funny." No concern for Lily, no questions about how we were doing without her. Just anger at the inconvenience. I deleted the messages and continued driving. Victoria's office suite occupied the entire top floor of the building. Her assistant, a young man with an immaculate suit and suspicious eyes, led me through a series of increasingly luxurious waiting areas until we reached a set of double doors. "Mr. Sullivan for Mrs. Hayes," he announced, standing aside to let me enter. Victoria Hayes was not what I had expected. From her business reputation, I'd imagined someone older, harder. Instead, she appeared to be in her early 40s, with short dark hair framing an angular face. She wore a simple black dress that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage payment. No jewelry except for a wedding band and small diamond studs. She looked up from her computer with a practiced smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Mr. Sullivan, you've come all the way from Austin with concerns about our regulatory compliance." Her voice was cool, professional. "No, Mrs. Hayes, I've come about your husband." The practiced smile vanished. She studied me with new intensity. "Explain." Quickly, I placed my phone on her desk and pulled up the photos. "This is your husband in Miami, with my wife." Victoria looked at the photos, her expression unchanged except for a slight tightening around her eyes. She swiped through them methodically, taking in every detail before setting the phone down and looking directly at me. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because I thought you should know, and because I need an ally." She leaned back in her chair. "An ally for what exactly?" "I want custody of my daughter. I want my home. I want my wife to understand exactly what she's thrown away. And I suspect you might want something similar where your husband is concerned." Victoria was silent for a long moment, assessing me. Then she pressed a button on her desk phone. "Thomas, cancel my meetings for the rest of the day and have legal send up the contingency files on Jason's employment." She released the button and looked at me again. "Tell me everything. Start with your name, your real name, and why I shouldn't have security throw you out for what could easily be doctored photos." For the next hour, I laid out the entire situation. I showed her the text messages, explained how Claire had lied about her whereabouts, and detailed my actions so far. Victoria listened without interruption, her face betraying nothing. When I finished, she stood and walked to the window, looking out over Dallas. "Jason signed a prenuptial agreement that's triggered by infidelity," she said finally. "It's quite comprehensive. He loses everything: his position at the company, his stake in our properties, his access to family funds." She turned back to me. "But it requires proof, concrete, undeniable evidence that would stand up in court. Like these photos." "Photos can be disputed. I need something more definitive." I played the video clip from the hotel bar. Victoria watched it twice, her expression hardening with each viewing. When Jason suggested Claire leave me, I saw something flash in Victoria's eyes. Recognition, perhaps. Had he made the same suggestion to her at some point? "That will do," she said finally, her voice almost a purr. "That will do very nicely." She returned to her desk and picked up her phone. "I have a better idea." She dialed a number from memory. "Marcus, it's Victoria. I need the jet prepared. I'm going to Miami, tonight, and I'll need your special security team." She listened briefly. "Yes, that kind of situation. Have them bring the technical equipment." After hanging up, she fixed me with a level gaze. "Do you want to destroy them, Mr. Sullivan, or merely win your divorce?" "I want justice," I answered carefully. "Justice," she repeated, a hint of amusement in her voice. "A convenient word that means whatever we need it to mean. I prefer clarity. Jason betrayed me. Your wife betrayed you. They broke rules they agreed to follow. Now they face consequences." She wrote something on a business card and handed it to me. "This is my private number. Go home to your daughter. By Monday morning, you'll have everything you need for your custody hearing. And Jason." She paused, the first genuine smile I'd seen crossing her face. "Jason will understand exactly what he's lost." As I stood to leave, Victoria stopped me with another question. "Your wife, Claire, was it? What does she value most? Besides your daughter, of course." I considered the question carefully. Her social standing, her image, the perception that she has the perfect life. Victoria nodded, satisfied. "Perfect. By Sunday evening, she'll have none of those things." She extended her hand, and when I took it, her grip was surprisingly strong. "It's been a pleasure meeting you, Mr. Sullivan. I think we understand each other very well." I left her office with the unsettling feeling that I'd unleashed something beyond my control. But as I drove back to Austin, the memory of Claire's text message, "Don't be jealous," and her words in the video, "He'll always be there," hardened my resolve. She'd made her choice. Now we would all live with the consequences. Saturday morning, I took Lily to the zoo. We watched sea lions perform, fed giraffes from the palm of our hands, and ate overpriced ice cream that dripped onto our shoes. I took dozens of photos of her laughing, pointing, marveling at the animals. Evidence of a devoted father spending quality time with his daughter while her mother was nowhere to be found. My phone vibrated periodically with updates from Robert and Ethan, but I ignored them. This day belonged to Lily. "Daddy," she asked as we watched elephants spray water on themselves, "why doesn't Mommy call me at bedtime, like she always does when she's away?" The simple question cut through all my careful preparations. I knelt beside her, searching for words that would protect her from the ugly truth. "I think Mommy's been very busy with—" I hesitated, unwilling to perpetuate Claire's lie about visiting her sister. "With her trip. Sometimes when grown-ups are away, they get caught up in things and forget to call." Lily's brow furrowed. "But Mommy always says I'm the most important thing in her whole world. More important than anything else. Out of the mouths of babes. The raw wisdom of children, cutting straight to the heart of adult hypocrisy. You are the most important thing, Lily. To both of us. Sometimes grown-ups make mistakes, but that doesn't change how much we love you." She seemed to accept this, but as we continued through the zoo, I noticed her normally boundless energy was subdued. She kept checking my phone whenever it buzzed, hoping it was her mother. That evening, after my parents had taken Lily to their house for a sleepover, I finally checked my messages. There were several from Claire, increasingly urgent, asking why her credit cards weren't working and why she couldn't access our bank accounts online. The most recent was different in tone. "Mark, this isn't funny anymore. The hotel is threatening to call security if I can't pay the bill. I tried calling my parents, but they're not answering. I need you to transfer money now." I didn't respond. Ethan had sent a new batch of photos, Claire looking distressed in the hotel lobby, Jason arguing with someone on his phone, Claire sitting alone at the hotel bar, repeatedly checking her phone. The most interesting message was from Victoria. "Phase 1 complete. Your wife is currently without financial resources. Jason is dealing with some unexpected professional developments. Their learning actions have consequences. More tomorrow." I poured myself 2 fingers of bourbon and sat on our back patio, watching the sunset paint the sky in hues of orange and purple. 10 years with Claire, a decade of building a life together, of compromise and growth, of planning a future that now would never exist. Had there been signs I'd missed? Moments when I could have prevented this? I thought of the late-night texts she'd laughed off, the business trips that ran long, the sudden interest in fitness that had her at the gym at odd hours. Perhaps, but trust isn't true. Trust if you're constantly looking for evidence of betrayal. I'd believed in us because that's what partners do. My phone rang. Claire's ringtone. I watched it vibrate across the patio table without reaching for it. Whatever crisis she was experiencing now was of her own making. Let her feel abandoned, confused, unsupported. Let her have a taste of what she'd so casually inflicted on me. Later that night, Victoria called. "It's done," she said without preamble. "Jason has been terminated from Hayes Medical. His company car has been repossessed from the hotel parking lot. His access to our accounts has been suspended. The hotel has been instructed to restrict both their room keys to require payment for any additional charges." "How did you manage all that on a weekend?" I asked, impressed despite myself. "Money, Mr. Sullivan. Sufficient amounts directed at the right people can accomplish almost anything." Her voice was matter-of-fact. "Jason is on his way back to Dallas now, alone. He left Claire there." Even I was surprised by that. He had little choice. Once he understood his situation, self-preservation took over. Men like Jason are predictable that way. She paused. "Your wife remains at the hotel, though I understand there's some confusion about who will be paying the bill." "Thank you," I said, unsure what else to add. "Don't thank me yet. Tomorrow comes the public humiliation. Sleep well, Mr. Sullivan." I didn't sleep well. I lay awake thinking about Claire stranded in Miami. Her lover fled, her cards declined, her calls unanswered. I thought about her fear, her confusion, her dawning realization that the stable, dependable husband she'd taken for granted had disappeared when she needed him most. It didn't bring me joy, but it did bring a certain symmetry to the situation. She had abandoned her responsibilities without a thought for the consequences. Now she was experiencing consequences without the comfort of rescue. Sunday morning brought more photos from Ethan. Claire checking out of the hotel, arguing with staff, her face streaked with tears. Claire at the airport, alone with her small suitcase, looking exhausted and defeated. Victoria's public humiliation arrived in the form of social media posts and text messages. Apparently, she'd sent the photos of Jason and Claire to select members of their social circle, with appropriate expressions of shock and heartbreak, casting herself as the wronged wife seeking support during this difficult time. By midday, Claire's sister Sandra called me, her voice tight with anger. "Is it true, Claire and Jason Mercer?" "Yes." I saw no reason to elaborate. "Mom and Dad are devastated. Her photos are all over our family group chat. Victoria Hayes sent them to cousin Emily, who's married to Jason's college roommate, and now everyone knows." Sandra paused. "Claire just landed in Houston. She wants to come here before facing you." "That's between you and her," I replied, keeping my voice neutral. "I'm focused on Lily right now. The custody hearing tomorrow. Mom mentioned it. Are you really going through with that?" "Yes," Sandra sighed. "She really messed up this time, didn't she? I love my sister, but I don't even know what to say to her." "You don't have to say anything. Just don't lie for her anymore." After hanging up, I checked my email to find a detailed report from Ethan. He'd gathered statements from hotel staff about Claire and Jason's behavior, documented their movements with timestamps, and compiled everything into a professional presentation ready for court. Robert called next. "I've reviewed everything. We're in excellent shape for tomorrow. Judge Wilson has agreed to see us first thing, 9 a.m. Make sure Lily goes to school as normal. We don't want her there." "Understood. What should I expect?" "Based on the evidence, I anticipate the judge will grant us temporary full custody while we pursue the final divorce settlement. Claire will likely get supervised visitation to start. Once the temporary order is in place, we'll move to secure the house and other assets." He paused. "Have you heard from Claire directly?" "She's called and texted. I haven't responded." "Good. Let her first communication be through her attorney, if she even has one yet. Given the rush in the weekend, she may show up tomorrow without representation." An hour later, Claire herself called. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Mark." Her voice was ragged, exhausted. "Finally." "Why haven't you been answering my calls?" "I've been busy with Lily," I replied, keeping my voice neutral, making sure she's okay despite her mother abandoning her. "I didn't abandon her. I just took a short trip. You're her father. You're supposed to take care of her, too. A trip you lied about, with your lover, while neglecting your daughter." A sharp intake of breath. "How did you know about Jason? About your lies? About the break you needed from your family responsibilities?" Silence stretched between us. When she spoke again, her voice was smaller. "It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think, Claire. I have the photos. I have the video. I have your text telling me not to be jealous. I have everything. Video." "What video?" Panic edged her voice now. "You, at the hotel bar, toasting to husbands who don't ask questions, explaining how I'm safe and dependable, and will always be there while Jason is your excitement and escape." Another long silence. "Mark, please. Let me explain. Let me come home. We can talk about this." "There's nothing to talk about, and it's not your home anymore." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying there's a custody hearing tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, Judge Wilson's courtroom. I suggest you find an attorney by then." "Custody?" Her voice rose in disbelief. "You're trying to take Lily from me. Because of one mistake." "One mistake?" I felt my careful control slipping. "You systematically lied to me. You betrayed our marriage vows. You abandoned your daughter to be with your lover. You spent our money on hotel rooms and dinners and spa treatments with him. Then you had the audacity to text me not to be jealous, like I should be fine with it. This isn't one mistake, Claire. This is who you are." She was crying now, messy, desperate sobs. "Please, Mark. Please don't do this. I'll do anything. I'm sorry. I made a terrible mistake. I don't know what I was thinking. It's over with Jason, I swear. Just let me come home." For a moment, one weak human moment, I almost wavered. The sound of her tears, the familiar way she said my name, the history between us. It all pulled at something deep inside me, that still loved the woman I thought she was. Then I remembered the video, the casual way she'd dismissed our marriage, the calculated risks she'd taken, assuming I'd always be her safety net. 9 o'clock tomorrow, Claire. Don't be late. I hung up, my hand trembling slightly as I set down the phone. Part of me wanted to call her back, to hear her explanations, to find a way to salvage something from the wreckage of our marriage. But a stronger, colder part knew that would only lead to more pain, more betrayal, more disrespect. That part won. The thought of Claire facing a judge alone, unprepared and emotionally distraught, should have given me satisfaction. Instead, I felt a flicker of something uncomfortably close to pity. I pushed it aside. Claire had made her choices with clear eyes and a callous heart. The consequences were hers to bear. Monday morning dawned clear and crisp. I wore my best suit, the one Claire had helped me pick for important client meetings. My parents kept Lily for the night and would take her to school, telling her only that Mommy and Daddy had important meetings today. The courthouse was quieter than I'd expected. The hallways populated mainly by lawyers in dark suits and court personnel, moving with purposeful efficiency. Robert met me at the entrance to Judge Wilson's courtroom, his confidence radiating like heat. "Claire's here," he murmured, "with her parents." "No lawyer that I can see." I nodded, keeping my expression neutral. We entered the courtroom together, Robert leading the way to the plaintiff's table. I didn't look toward the back of the room where Claire presumably sat. Judge Harriet Wilson was a woman in her 60s with steel gray hair and reading glasses perched on the end of her nose. She called the court to order precisely at 9 a.m., reviewing the documents before her with careful attention. "This is a petition for emergency temporary custody," she noted, looking up at Robert. "On what grounds are you seeking this extraordinary relief, counselor?" Robert stood. "Your Honor, we have evidence that the respondent, Claire Sullivan, abandoned her 6-year-old daughter without proper arrangements to pursue an extramarital affair. She lied about her whereabouts, traveled out of state with her paramour, and demonstrated a concerning lack of judgment and responsibility. Is the respondent represented by counsel?" Judge Wilson looked toward the back of the courtroom. "No, Your Honor." Claire's voice was small but clear. "This proceeding was arranged without my knowledge. I only learned of it yesterday. For the first time, I allowed myself to look at her. Claire sat between her parents, her normally perfect appearance disheveled. Her hair was pulled back in a hasty ponytail, her face bare of makeup, her eyes rimmed with red. She wore a simple navy dress that seemed to hang on her frame." Judge Wilson frowned. "Mrs. Sullivan, these are serious allegations. I strongly advise you to seek legal representation before proceeding." "I understand, Your Honor, but I can't afford—" Claire stopped herself. I'd like to address these claims today if possible. I don't want to be separated from my daughter." "Very well. Mr. Kane, please present your evidence." For the next 40 minutes, Robert methodically built the case against Claire. He submitted the text messages, the photos from Miami, the video from the hotel bar, the statements from hotel staff, and affidavits from my parents about how I'd cared for Lily during Claire's absence. He emphasized Claire's deception, her financial irresponsibility, and her willingness to prioritize an affair over her maternal duties. Through it all, I sat perfectly still, my eyes fixed on the judge. I could feel Claire's gaze burning into me, but I refused to acknowledge her. When Robert played the video from the hotel bar, Claire let out a small broken sound. Her mother reached for her hand, but her father remained rigid, his jaw clenched in what might have been anger or embarrassment. Finally, Judge Wilson turned to Claire. "Mrs. Sullivan, do you wish to respond to these allegations?" Claire stood, smoothing her dress with trembling hands. "Yes, Your Honor. I made a terrible mistake. I lied to my husband about where I was going, and I spent time with someone I shouldn't have. But I love my daughter more than anything. I've been her primary caregiver since she was born. Mark works long hours, he's a wonderful provider, but I'm the one who takes Lily to doctor appointments, who volunteers at her school, who knows her friends and her fears and her favorite bedtime stories." Her voice broke. "It was one bad decision, a week where I was selfish and stupid. It doesn't erase years of being a good mother. Please don't take my daughter away from me." "Mrs. Sullivan," the judge said carefully, "the video evidence shows you explicitly stating that this relationship with Mr. Mercer has been ongoing, referring to him as your escape. This suggests a pattern of behavior rather than a single lapse in judgment. Claire's shoulders slumped. Jason and I dated in college. We reconnected recently. It was a mistake. A terrible, stupid mistake that I regret more than anything. She turned toward me, her eyes pleading. Mark, please. Don't do this. Not for me, but for Lily. She needs her mother. I kept my gaze fixed on the judge, refusing to be drawn into Claire's emotional appeal. Robert had warned me about this, how she might try to use our history, my feelings for her, or my concern for Lily to weaken my resolve. Judge Wilson removed her glasses, rubbing the bridge of her nose. Mrs. Sullivan, your honesty is appreciated. However, good parenting requires good judgment. You left your young child to pursue an extramarital relationship, deceived your husband about your whereabouts, and demonstrated concerning priorities. She replaced her glasses. I am granting temporary full custody to Mr. Sullivan, with supervised visitation for Mrs. Sullivan twice weekly, pending further hearings. Mr. Sullivan will retain possession of the family home to minimize disruption to the child's routine. Mrs. Sullivan, I strongly suggest you obtain legal counsel before our next hearing. Claire made a small, wounded sound. Her mother put an arm around her shoulders. Court is adjourned. The gavel fell with a sharp crack. Robert shook my hand, grinning. Perfect outcome. Exactly what we wanted. I nodded, gathering my papers. Behind me, I could hear Claire crying softly. As we left the courtroom, Claire's father approached me. Thomas Reynolds had never been particularly warm toward me, viewing my middle-class background as insufficient for his daughter. Now he looked older, his authoritative demeanor diminished by shame. Mark, he said quietly, a moment. Robert tensed beside me, but I nodded for him to continue without me. What do you want, Thomas? He glanced back at Claire, who was being comforted by her mother. She made a terrible mistake, the worst kind, but she's still Lily's mother. I'm aware. Don't use our granddaughter as a weapon, Mark. That's all I'm asking. I'm protecting my daughter from someone who demonstrated she can't be trusted with a child's emotional well-being, I replied coldly. Claire chose her path. Now she can walk it. I moved past him without waiting for a response. Outside the courthouse, Robert was already making calls to secure the judge's order and initiate the next steps. I stood on the steps, breathing in the autumn air, feeling neither triumph nor satisfaction, only a hollow certainty that I was doing what needed to be done. The weeks that followed settled into an uneasy rhythm. Claire found an apartment near her parents and secured a job at her father's company. She attended her supervised visitations with Lily faithfully, bringing small gifts and making the most of their limited time together. I watched from a distance, maintaining cordial but minimal communication, always with Robert's advice in mind. Document everything, show no weakness, give no openings. Lily asked about her mother constantly at first, confused and hurt by the sudden change. I explained as gently as possible that Mommy and Daddy were having problems and needed to live apart for a while, but that we both loved her very much. Over time, the questions came less frequently as our new normal took shape. Victoria Hayes filed for divorce from Jason, whose professional and social standing collapsed virtually overnight. Without Victoria's connections and financial support, he struggled to find equivalent employment. Their divorce proceedings made local headlines in Dallas, with Victoria cast as the dignified wronged wife and Jason as the disgraced adulterer. Claire, for her part, seemed to shrink within herself. The confident, sometimes carelessly selfish woman I'd married became subdued, cautious. She obtained a lawyer, paid for by her parents, who negotiated a slightly more generous visitation schedule, but made little headway against the mountain of evidence Robert had compiled. 3 months after that fateful text message, we finalized our divorce settlement. Claire received less than she might have in a standard divorce, but more than Robert had initially proposed. I wasn't interested in destroying her completely, only in protecting Lily and myself from further harm. At the final hearing, as we waited for our attorneys to process the paperwork, Claire and I found ourselves momentarily alone in a courthouse corridor. I never thought you'd be so ruthless, she said quietly. In 10 years of marriage, I never saw this side of you. You never gave me reason to show it. She studied my face. Was it all an act? The patience? The understanding? The man who forgave my every mistake? No, I answered honestly. That was real. But so is this. You assumed I was weak because I was kind. That was your mistake. I know I hurt you, she said. I know I betrayed your trust. But did you ever stop to think about why I turned to Jason? Did you ever wonder if something was missing between us? If something was missing, you should have said so. We could have worked on it together. Instead, you lied and cheated and abandoned your family. You took the coward's way out, Claire. She flinched as if I'd slapped her. And your solution, conspiring with Victoria, taking away my financial security, using Lily as leverage, that wasn't cowardly. It was strategic, I corrected her, and effective. Our lawyers returned then, ending the conversation. We signed the final documents in silence, bringing our marriage to an official end with the stroke of a pen. That evening, I received an unexpected call from Victoria Hayes. We'd remained in occasional contact since the court hearing, exchanging brief updates as our respective divorces progressed. It's done, she said, a note of satisfaction in her voice. The divorce is final. Jason gets nothing except for a small settlement I included to avoid any messy appeals. How about you? Also done, I replied. Signed the papers this afternoon. Congratulations are in order then. I'm in Austin for a conference this weekend. Perhaps we could celebrate over dinner. I hesitated. Victoria was undeniably attractive, undeniably dangerous. Our alliance had been born of mutual vengeance, a shared determination to punish those who had wronged us. Not the healthiest foundation for anything more. I appreciate the offer, but I'm focusing on Lily right now, I said finally. Another time, perhaps. Of course. If she was disappointed, she hid it well. The offer stands. Some people are worth waiting for. After hanging up, I sat alone in the quiet house that was now truly mine, reflecting on the swift, irrevocable changes of the past months. The life Claire and I had built was gone forever. In its place was something different, harder in some ways, simpler in others. I had lost my wife but kept my dignity. I had protected my daughter from instability. I had demonstrated to everyone who mattered that I was not a man to be disrespected or discarded. That night, as I tucked Lily into bed, she asked the question I'd been dreading. Daddy, is Mommy ever coming home? I smoothed her hair back from her forehead, buying time to find the right words. No, sweetheart. Mommy and Daddy aren't going to live together anymore, but we both love you very much, and will both always be your parents. Because of what Mommy did in Miami. The question caught me off guard. Who told you about Miami? Lily shrugged. I heard Grandma talking to Grandpa. She said Mommy made a big mistake in Miami, and that's why you're mad at her. I chose my next words carefully. Sometimes grown-ups make choices that hurt the people they love. When that happens, things have to change. But none of this is your fault, and nothing will change how much we love you. She nodded, seemingly satisfied with the explanation. Can I still love Mommy even if she made a mistake? Of course you can, I assured her. You should love your mom. She loves you very much. Lily's small hand patted my cheek. Don't be sad, Daddy. We're going to be okay. Her simple confidence nearly broke me. In that moment, I saw everything Claire had thrown away. Not just a husband who loved her, but these precious moments with a child whose heart was pure enough to offer comfort when she should have been receiving it. You're right, Lily Pad, I managed, using her favorite nickname. We're going to be just fine. The final blow came 3 weeks later, on a rainy November evening. Claire had been increasingly desperate in her communications, begging for a chance to talk, to explain, to make amends. I had remained firm, limiting our interactions to matters concerning Lily and the divorce. That evening, she called me 7 times in the span of an hour. Finally concerned that something might have happened to affect Lily, I answered, Claire, what is it? Is something wrong with Lily? No, she's fine. I need to talk to you. Please, Mark. 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. We have nothing to discuss beyond Lily's visitation schedule. My parents are selling their house, she blurted. They're moving to Florida. I can't afford my apartment on what I make at Dad's company, and he says they can't keep supporting me. I need help, Mark. Just temporarily, until I can get back on my feet. The irony was almost too perfect. The woman who had relied on her husband's stability while seeking excitement elsewhere now found both safety nets collapsing simultaneously. That's not my problem, Claire. Mark, please, where am I supposed to go? How am I supposed to see Lily if I can't afford to live here? You should have considered the consequences before you decided to throw away your marriage, your home, and your financial security for a vacation with your ex-boyfriend. My voice was calm, measured. Actions have consequences, Claire. You're experiencing yours. I made a mistake. One mistake. How long are you going to punish me for it? This isn't punishment. This is reality. You chose what you valued most, and now you're living with that choice. I'm going to lose my visitation if I can't maintain a suitable living arrangement. Is that what you want? For Lily to lose her mother completely? For a moment, I hesitated. Lily's well-being had always been my primary concern. Would cutting Claire out of her life entirely be in her best interest? I'll have Robert draw up an amendment to the custody agreement, I said finally. A small stipend for housing, contingent on your continued employment and adherence to the visitation schedule. Nothing more. Thank you, she whispered. I don't deserve your help, but thank you. I'm not doing it for you, I replied. I'm doing it for Lily. After hanging up, I felt an unexpected weight lift from my shoulders. In that moment, I realized I no longer cared what happened to Claire. The anger, the betrayal, the hurt, it had all faded to a dull, distant echo. She had become a problem to manage, not a wound that continued to bleed. 2 days later, Claire went to her parents' house to collect some personal items she'd stored there. What she found instead was a series of boxes stacked on the front porch, soaked by the autumn rain that had been falling steadily all day. Her clothes, her books, her mementos, all packed hastily and left to the elements. A clear message from her parents that their patience and support had reached its limit. Pinned to the top box was a waterproof envelope containing 2 items. A copy of our final divorce decree, highlighting the financial settlement that left her with barely enough to survive, and a brief note from her father. You made your choices. Now live with them. We've supported you through every mistake, every poor decision, every selfish impulse. This time, you're on your own. Claire stood in the rain, watching the cardboard boxes disintegrate around her possessions, the life she had taken for granted dissolving before her eyes. The woman who had once had everything, devoted husband, beautiful child, comfortable home, financial security, loving parents, now stood alone with nothing but the consequences of her own actions. Later that evening, as I put Lily to bed, my phone buzzed with a text from Sandra. Claire's at my place. She's a mess. Parents kicked her out completely, left everything she owns in the rain. She said she texted you, but you didn't answer. I checked my messages and found Claire's desperate plea from hours earlier. Everything is gone. Parents won't let me in. All my things ruined in the rain. Please help me. I have nowhere to go. I set the phone aside without responding. Claire would survive. She would rebuild. She would learn that the man she had dismissed as safe and dependable was actually someone who valued himself enough to walk away from disrespect and betrayal. As for me, I would focus on giving Lily the stable, loving home she deserved. I would teach her about consequences, about self-respect, about the importance of making choices you can live with. And perhaps someday, when the time was right, I might even open my heart to someone new, someone who would value my strength rather than mistake my kindness for weakness. In the end, Claire hadn't lost me because she went to Miami with Jason. She lost me because she thought I would simply accept it, because she believed my kindness made me weak. Her greatest mistake wasn't betraying my trust. It was underestimating my capacity to ensure that betrayal would be the last mistake she ever made at my expense. Some men shout when they're wounded. Others go quiet. The most dangerous are those who go to work,